I mean, all of these fears, it's been interesting to kind of see the overlap in them and to see how many people were nodding their heads and like I heard the whole time. Sometimes giving voice to our fears helps to diminish them. Leaning in to our emotions can be uncomfortable, and we might find our minds going for the solutions or explanations. But it can be so powerful to sometimes sit with what we might be feeling. It is the avoidance and the silence that leads to their amplification or magnification. In addition to a fear of not feeling accepted or belonging, another major theme that emerged was a fear of being mediocre or not fulfilling a purpose or staying in a comfort zone.
So it's being mediocre, living halfway. That's pretty subjective, isn't it? You know, mediocrity is subjective. I feel like, what is mediocrity? What is success? What is living all the way as opposed to halfway?
But if you were to feel, if this was your fear, how might you feel?
Inadequate. Not enough. Insufficient, for sure. I think since, the advent of the internet, I guess, or even Google or YouTube or any of those avenues, I mean, anyone can be an expert at anything, right? If you don't know something, you type it in, right?
Right.
Google it, it's a verb now, right? And I just think because, and even the advent of entrepreneurship, it's cool to be an entrepreneur. You feel like if you're not living up to that standard, if you haven't found something that you're great at and you're stepping out and you're living the life that other people are living, and reality TV, right? You see how other people are living, and so that again, gives you that sense of, okay, well, how I'm living is not enough, because if Sally and Joe on TV didn't graduate from high school and now they're millionaires, okay, then what am I doing? I graduated from university. Absolutely, the world. I think the world is smaller, and we can see more easily in each other's backyard, in each other's home, in each other's bedroom, and how they relate in their home, and we compare ourselves to that.
That compare, like, saw some nods everywhere.
Absolutely, and so that comparison, I mean, it's either, oh, well, I feel like I'm better than Joe over there because he's having marital problems and I'm not. Or it can be the flip side, right? How come they're so madly in love and I'm not? And so I think mediocrity is definitely, I don't know if it's intended or not, but it's a symptom, I think, of the world being smaller.
Well, the one I have, is not fulfilling my purpose.
Right.
And I feel that if I wasn't fulfilling my purpose, I would feel lost and hopeless, confused, at a loss almost, because really, what's the point if I'm
Could
not
also
fulfilling
tie
my
into that
purpose?
inadequacy.
Absolutely.
I was really worried about not making enough money, especially because I realized I'd been underpaid in my positions already. And so now I'm like, okay, so I've been underpaid, and now I might even be more because I'm going off on my own. And so it's such a, when you were talking about following your heart and stuff, but it's such a big privilege to be able to do that. And I think it's definitely I think some people might use it as an excuse to not follow their heart. Oh, I won't make enough money. But sometimes it is a true thing where they just can't because there's just not enough money. And I think that kind of eats away sometimes of people trying to reach their potential, follow their dreams, because it's always like, next time, when I make this much, when I get to this point, and then next time it doesn't always.
It's the amount of value you place on the different things you want in your life, right? Do I want to, be working this 9 to 5 with horrible people that compromise my integrity and everything I believe in, or do I want to suffer a little bit without as much money?
And I think a lot of times people equate how much money. It's like, do you not have enough money, or do you not want to give up your certain lifestyle just yet? Right?
Yes.
And so it's the value of
First world problem.
Yeah, as well as just having some kind of like trust in either higher power or trust in the process that is going to work out as well too. So it was really hard for me in the beginning to turn down jobs or contracts that I knew could at least bring me in quick money, but I'd be miserable. It's like I didn't quit so that I could pretty much do the same work. And so, having those months where I didn't make any money and just looking at my bank account. But, like I said, it's been about 1.5 years now, and it's finally coming in. So now I can look back and say, oh, that wasn't so bad. Right? But at the time, it was like, oh.
So I have this fear of not meeting my full potential and purpose, and also not traveling the world, and not having the material wealth to be able to achieve that. So let's say in this case, it really.
How are you feeling?
I feel pretty, strange enough, I feel pretty happy, because to know that I'm not alone in this fear, to know that I'm not the only one on earth with this idea that, let's say I was born for something, and it's like, well, every day that I'm not doing that something, or whatever that something may be, I have this constant, how do you say this? I have this constant fear that I'm not doing the thing that I was born for, and so I'm wasting time, I'm wasting the resources of life, I'm wasting the time of all the people around me who believe in me. And the second part
I want to follow this a little bit, that not meeting my full potential.
Yeah.
If you feel like I'm scared I'm not meeting my full potential, what are the feelings that you're feeling? And I saw nodding. As soon as he said it, I saw nodding around the table. What are the feelings that you're feeling? Lost.
Inadequate.
Inadequate.
Just looking back on your life and having regrets.
Anxious.
Yeah. So that's like the regrets as well as the anxiety from the past and future.
Staying inside my comfort zone. So I would imagine this person, I would feel as though I'm not taking enough risks in my life. I'm not progressing, I'm not moving forward because of, again, a fear.
Yeah. So you're feeling, what would you be feeling? Or if anyone else resonates with that, what would you be feeling?
Stagnant.
Restless.
Stagnant, restless. Yeah. Anxious.
Frustrated, anxious.
And a lot of that frustration is, at yourself. The frustration and anger at yourself, maybe.
I feel bored if I
Feel
stay
bored.
in comfort zone, yes. And
Yeah.
from boredness, it coming some depressed feeling maybe too. Like life is passing by, and it's coming to the death. So
Which
if you
comes,
are
okay.
anything exciting, right? Like it
Right.
just feels like you are just running right to the death without doing anything interesting in your life. For me,
Well, it's interesting how that relates to
our
that,
world,
to
yes.
your fear.
Yeah.
And it's that whole thing about nothing changes if nothing changes.
I think that the millennials do have a lot of pressure on them, probably more than any group in the past.
There was this beautiful and powerful moment in all the groups after they recognized their fears, when they started to recognize the similarities in one another's fears to their own, and when they held space for those underlying feelings, and even recognized its ability to move us forward towards change.
I have a thought that this person may be, because I think starting to fear being in your comfort zone or being stuck there could actually be the start of a very positive change. and so this is the therapist coming out on me now, though, but I feel like for somebody who's going through that stages of change, and the ambivalence is the first thing, right? So that fear is first, and then the ambivalence, and so I feel like it could be a positive thing that person, I know I feel like before I took steps to really make my goals and dreams come true, that I felt a lot of that and a lot of anxiety, but it was actually very positive because it propelled me in the right direction, and that fear drove my actions and me going after my goals. So it doesn't have to be, fear doesn't have to be a bad thing all the time.
Absolutely.
August 3rd, 2016. It was the day that I landed in Toronto. I moved here from Vancouver and didn't know what to expect, but I was so happy that I finally did this for myself after wanting to for so long. It's funny because I wasn't scared. Like, there wasn't that sense of fear. Like, I just reached the point where I had to do it. But I've recognized, like, in moving here, if there was fear, there was no need for it. Like, I feel like fear needs to be like fuel more than anything. Being afraid of something or worrying about something, it like fools you into thinking that you're being productive because you're putting so much mental thought into it, but there's really no need for it. Like, you just have to do things. Like, just do it.
But it isn't always easy for us to recognize and acknowledge our fears or ask for help, as was discussed.
I think, and I don't know, I can't speak for people, but I find that this might be the case. I find it hard to ask for help.
Agreed.
And so that, I think, is the biggest challenge of asking someone what they want, just directly. It's a challenge for me because I feel like I should just know this. I should just be able to figure this out. How come I don't know this, right?
I used to, funny enough, think that was like ethnic mentality because anyone from the continent of Asia, when you have parents that are very, this is your goal, this is what's happening, you don't cry when you fall, you just figure it out, there's no such thing as weakness, just make it happen, brush it off, you should already know this, keep going. So, asking for help is something that I find that I have had to learn, much to your point, and I now observe this in my upbringing, and I thought it was an ethnic thing.
I think it resonates with people across the board. I don't know, Vicky, I'm going to throw it your way.
I don't know how to ask for help until it's too late, and I have to. At that point, I have no choice. I'm like, help me now. So I'm not sure. I've never really thought too much about it.
And asking for help, does that change within a professional and personal setting with family and friends, and then in a workplace? Which one's harder?
Personally,
Personal?
for me, personal.
I don't have too hard of a time asking for help when it's somebody that I feel is like on the same level as me. So in a workplace, or even with my parents, somebody who I consider to be, I guess, like, let's say, above me, I have a harder time asking for help because I guess maybe I don't want to show weakness or anything like that. But if it's like a friend and I feel like we're on the same peer-to-peer level, it's much easier for me to ask for help, and I think they also find it easier to ask me for help. I think.
It's uncomfortable to have to, especially as adults, if you move, you have to make new friends. And I don't know about you, but that's one of the hardest things on the planet for some reason to make friends, especially as an adult. Kids, you have a toy, I have a toy, let's put our toys together. Adult, a little bit different, you know? And I find that we, as much as we try to be open, we're also, our energy that we put out to people might be deterring or whatever it may be. So it's harder, and then it kind of ties into your drive and your motivation and your happiness. So
along with that, I feel like as an adult, you think that everybody else who wants to like connect with you has an ulterior motive.
Exactly.
So it's really hard to be like, does this person want me to help them get a job, or do they want to date me, or do all these different things, or do they want to do other things? So it's really hard. Like as a kid, you're like, oh, I just want to play with you in that toy. Like that's so harmless. But now it's like I can't trust you because I don't know what you want from me.
For too long, our fears have been a source of guilt or shame in our lives. We have not given voice to our fears to avoid feeling vulnerable. But through Brené Brown's research, and through the powerful connection fostered in the room when each participant was vulnerable and heard one another, I think it's time for us to strive to regain connection to others and shatter the fears that are holding us back from realizing our potential.
My major intake is the commonality we have, though we are sharing different fears, but the core and the root for most of the fears and the reflections each and everyone share, it all appears same to me. And it's interesting to be part of this conversation. It feels so short.